Fantasy and Flavors. I'm Megan Price, your host and your Spurs representative. Over the last week, the NBA has announced that they will be having the All-Star Weekend in Atlanta on March 7th, and fan voting is open until February 16th. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about the Spurs for a little bit. We've had an interesting week. We're in 5th place at the moment, and tonight we start our back-to-back series against Golden State. But most importantly, I want to talk about DeMar. DeMar is our all-star. So if you haven't voted for him and you're a Spurs fan, you need to go vote, and vote again. DeMar is averaging 20 points at 49%, almost 50%, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, 6.6 assists. But in the last 2 games, he's given us 30 points apiece. He went 9 of 16 and 10 of 19. Both games, he had 8 rebounds and 7 assists one game and 6 assists the next game. So he's definitely turned up the all-star type of play. We got to vote him in. Now, Murray has cooled off a little bit, but he's still averaging 14.4 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.2 assists. Last week, we saw the return of Derek White, who came back after a fractured toe injury, played 1 game, and then had to leave again. And so this has been his return. We hope he's healthy. And from there, guys, we'll go ahead and move into who we face this week for the next 2 nights, and that's going to be Golden State. Go ahead and bring Steve on. Hi, Steve.
Hey, what's up?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, not doing great. Just doing some dance dad stuff, sitting outside waiting for my daughter to get done with dance. So
That's awesome.
yeah, just relaxing and ready to talk some NBA.
Well, this week we're going to go ahead and have you cover Golden State, which is the Spurs opponent for the next 2 nights. I think we split the series. I think y'all grab one. I think we grab one. Kind of the same caliber team at the moment. I think y'all's offense is probably more high powered because of Steph. Talk to me about what he's done in the last couple of games.
Yeah, well, keeping it short, Steph Curry's been Steph Curry.
Absolutely.
Obviously, he is coming off of 57 against Dallas and made 11 threes. But, he's basically averaging almost 30 points, over 6 assists, over almost 5.5 rebounds a game, shooting 48% from the field, 93% from the free throw line, almost 43% from 3. Basically, he's just being Steph Curry.
Absolutely.
And then I completely agree with you about the split of these 2 games here, of this back-to-back today and tomorrow, because it's pretty much what Golden State's been doing. I mean, they're 12-11, which is right now the 8th seed. And that's pretty much what they've been. They've been 5-5 their last 10. They're basically win 1, lose 1. Eric Purcell is coming back tonight after some knee soreness, so that helps a little bit with Looney still out, Wiseman still out.
Right, yeah. Y'all have had some center issues, and some of y'all's power forwards have had some issues as well.
Yeah. Obviously, they have a lot of center injuries right now, and Draymond is starting to pick up slack a little bit. He needs to continue to do that, especially with Wiseman out and Looney out. He had back-to-back 15 assist games, but he needs to be more aggressive scoring too. We can't have 2 to 6 points from him. He needs to be closer to 12.
Agreed. And definitely the points, like while he had 2 15 assist games, he's putting up 2 points or 4 points. And that's just not the Draymond Green that we know. As much as I don't like the guy, he's just got to perform more.
And that's the thing about the 2 games with Dallas. He did have 15 assists in both of those games. One of those games, he scored 11 points. They won. The other game, he scored 2 points. They lost. And Luka had 2. So yeah, it's a big difference between 11 points and 2 points when you're talking about between a win and a loss. So yeah, Day definitely. I mean, he definitely needs to pick it up. He's capable. We've seen it. Obviously, I've seen it for a really, really long time because I actually coached against him when he played in high school at Saginaw High.
That's right.
So
I forgot about that.
Way too much of Draymond Green, but so I know he's capable. He needs to continue to do that. He needs to continue to be aggressive because they are at their best with him, Wiggins, Kelly Oubre actually once in that first Mavs game remembered how to shoot the ball, so that was great. But the rest of the year he's been really struggling with that. But the Warriors, like I said, they're right in that playoff race. I think they're going to stay in the playoff race all year because of Steph Curry. He's that good. He would be one of the starting guards in the All-Star game right now with voting, which he obviously deserves. So, but it's going to be tough because at some point you still need something from the center position. I know the NBA has changed and it's a much different game than it used to be, but you still got to be able to protect the rim better than they have been.
Agreed. And you brought up Oubre, who had a career high against the Mavs in the first game of this series with 40 points, and he went 14 of 21.
Yeah.
And then
and 7 for 10 from 3, where he's been under 25% from 3 all year, and he goes 7 for 10. So yeah.
Well, and then the next game, obviously he didn't have the same caliber of game, but he had 14 points. And so in a 2-point game, in which this was a loss to the Mavs, and it was 132 to 134. In a 2-point game, those 14 points make a huge difference. So I think that he's going to continue to stay hot a little bit. And from there, I want to see more out of Wiseman. And hopefully he comes off that injury and is top notch, because I'm not a big believer in Draymond Green at the moment. Now, whenever he steps up those points, I guess I'll get back on okay.
Yeah. He can't be a 4.6 point game guy. He's better than that. I mean, he's never going to be your 25-point scorer, but he's better than 2 to 4 points a game. And he needs to be. And Wiseman, he's really showed some great size. Hopefully that wrist injury, he's going to be reevaluated Wednesday, actually. So hopefully he can get back sooner rather than later, because they do have, after the back-to-back with the Spurs, they play the Magic Thursday, which is a must-win for them. And then they have the Saturday primetime game on ABC against the Nets. So, which could be a
game.
Real fun, entertaining game for sure. So,
do you think that will Irving be back? Will KD be back for that game, do you think?
Oh man, that's the biggest one, is if KD will be back. And I'm sure you'll talk about it more, but what a weird situation where he he can't play, then he's cleared to play, then he's taken out. I mean, just a really weird situation there. But I guess everything about this season and the finish of last season is going to be different and weird.
I completely agree with that. Like, COVID has affected this season in a way that I'm not even sure that we should be having the All-Star game. Like, what are your opinions on that?
Yeah. I actually, and this doesn't happen a lot because I'm definitely not the biggest LeBron fan in the world. That's an understatement.
Right.
People know me will tell you that.
I know exactly where you're going with this statement.
I completely agree with everything that he said. There is no reason for them to have the All-Star game this year. It is very easy to still have the voting, still have the recognition, still call them All-Stars, whatever. But to get them all together, I know the NBA is doing like flying in Saturday night late, I think, and flying out Sunday right after the game or something like that. They're doing a condensed version of it, but there's still no reason for them all to go to Atlanta to play. I can't, especially somebody like LeBron and those guys that are all-stars all the time, I can't see them wanting to play and even going. Where I think
on top of the danger, just like with all the COVID issues that we've had, LeBron said it's been 74 days since the finals and to the start of the season, and so that he's exhausted, and we've seen that not only in the comment after the All-Star game, but also in his performance against Detroit, which I'll get into that with the rep. But he was exhausted after 2 overtimes. He just couldn't do it anymore. Can't blame him. He's tired.
No. He can't blame him, and he's absolutely right. That's another point. Besides the whole pandemic and is it safe or not safe?
Right.
Yeah. The fact that you had a very shortened off season, the game hasn't mattered. Obviously, it never did, but at least there was a time where it was entertaining. But now it's just trading dunk after dunk. It's it's an exhibition. It's for the fans. It's fun. But I mean, you can replay classic All-Star games that weekend or something, and we can watch.
Right. No, I agree, because there's no
reason for them to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've already done that. I think majority of us fans are just happy that we're having a season, and whatever they have to do to be safe, if that means sacrificing the All-Star weekend, I kind of think they should be doing that. But
absolutely. Well, think about worst case scenario, right? If you're in a team, and your Spurs, great example. If one of their players gets COVID from the All-Star break, and now he misses 2 weeks.
And then it's the All-Star. It's the All-Star game, so it's your top player.
Yeah, it's your best player.
Right. Yeah, so, completely agree.
Definitely, I'm with you. It's not worth it. But yeah, we should have a couple of fun games this week for sure.
Okay, Steve. Well, thank you so much and talking Golden State with us this week. Go ahead and shout out what you have going on, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I always appreciate it. My NBA podcast, Flag with Friends, we do the national television games for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the game of the weekend on Saturday. Easiest way to find that is through my website, All Eyes on You, just a letter U, Hoops, which you can hit me up on Twitter on that as well. And yeah, pretty much it. And I did do a live pregame podcast for the Gridiron Gang of the pregame of the Super Bowl yesterday, which was fun. But yeah, but now it's all basketball now.
And I love that. Like, I'm also a part of the NFL Carousel, and I wanted to text the chat earlier and tell them, like, hey guys, I've been on the draft ever since the draft happened in the NBA. I kind of been off football. It's a basketball world. Thank you so much for coming on, Steve.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
You too. All right, guys. Next, we're going to bring on the number one in the East. That's going to be Larry Aldridge covering the Sixers. Hi, Larry.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Been better, you know. That game against Portland really.
Ooh, okay. I had a post on my page, and it was talking about how I asked you Sixers, did y'all just let Melo have a practice session on y'all, or what happened?
It looked like they were looking ahead for the Brooklyn game that Saturday. And the way these games are so condensed now with this 4 games a week, you can tell you're going to you're going to start to see a lot of sloppy basketball.
I agree.
Especially, I want them to take it easy on Embiid. If we got to miss him for a couple of games here and there, I'm fine with that.
Right.
Even if we have to rest Simmons and Embiid as well at the same time, like some of those, lackluster teams, and just prepare for the bigger teams.
Right. And good teams are going to have games like that. Like, there's going to be games where y'all lose and you're going to be like, oh, what happened? Like the Lakers against the Pistons the first time. It was like, oh, what happened? Well, y'all are number one. You're tired. And, coming around to it, you're going to have a couple of losses. You're not going to have the perfect season. We've never seen it. Yeah. So, but coming up after that, you guys had Brooklyn, and that was an interesting game. Talk to us about that one.
I was wondering about how the KD situation was going to go. He came in the game, then they took him out, then put him back in and kept him out. And I wanted to see a test for the Sixers to see how they were going to compete against one of the powerhouses in the East. And a lot of times they have problems with a volume scorer because they try to save Ben Simmons to play the guy usually in the fourth quarter where he has, when it's crunch time. And we did okay. It wasn't one of those 50-point triple doubles that Harden is capable of doing. So that's the win in my book.
Well, you know what? He was alone generally. I mean, he didn't have his 2 other stars with him. But KD in that game, he went, I want to say he had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. So, I mean, even in the amount of time that he did play, it wasn't exactly, and that was in the other game with them. But with you guys in that absence, like, you could definitely tell that there was no Kyrie Irving, there was no KD. And I mean, Dwight Howard isn't doing a ton for you guys, but Seth Curry came in off and he started. He did 11, 4, and 2. Simmons went 16, 8, and 12. So those 12 boards are huge.
Yeah.
Embiid's points that he's been putting up, or Embiid's stat line that he's been putting up for the last 8 games is ridiculous. So they're probably going to need to rest him pretty soon. But Tobias Harris, let's talk about him.
The forgotten all-stars, I like to call them. Because there are some nights when he looks like he can be, that missing piece to that big 3 for Philadelphia.
Right.
Because like early in his career when he was with Orlando and Milwaukee, and even his earlier part with the Clippers, he was, routine 20-point guy. So he's capable of doing that. It's just some nights he just struggles to find his place in the rotation. Where I think he deserves to be the second option because Ben Simmons isn't really a scoring option. He's going to be more of a facilitator. And he's going to score on, fast breaks and some of the cheap buckets. But Tobias has to turn into that second dominating scorer. He right now it looks like we use him as the closer in those ISO situations in the fourth quarter, because trying to go to Embiid in the post, it can work, but not in those clutch situations where
Right.
the floor is tightened and Harris is pretty much the only guy who can create his own shot and get to the basket and go to the free throw line.
And you know who had an interesting game that game is Shake Milton. He had 15 points,
Yeah.
3 assists, and 4 rebounds. Within how many minutes did he play? He had 27 minutes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a solid game for him too. So y'all's bench stepping up, it seemed like it's going to keep you guys in number one.
Yeah. And that's what I want to keep that bench intact by any means, because if we're talking about adding in another superstar, I've given up on the Brad Beal because I think they're just going to decimate the team. You can see what happens with the Nets. The bench has been depleted. So now when they have KD and Kyrie missing, James Harden has to shoulder more of that load, and there's not a lot of other options for him to facilitate with. So it puts more of a burden on him. And it looks like Shake is kind of filling in that kind of like fourth option. Like, so if Curry has a bad game, Danny Green is off, it looks like Shake can kind of step into that spot and be reliable.
Seems like that. Do you have any opinions on the All-Star?
Like I said, with the way they're playing all these games in a week, I think they just need to shut it down. Let these guys have at least 2 weeks off because it's torture on them from being in that bubble. And with 75 days since the last game of the season to now, it's just too much.
I agree. Bubble ball was basically, to me, as being someone who used to hoop, it just reminded me of tournament ball.
Yeah.
And, and it was constant for however long the bubble was, 6-7 weeks or 2 months. It was probably about 2 months long. It was just constant all the time. And as I've gone over the schedule and I go over all the stats and the games, that main thought to me is like, oh my gosh, they're playing again. They're playing again. Like, they've got to be exhausted. And we heard that from, the league's supposed king. And he said he's exhausted, and I completely understand and agree with him. Okay, so coming up, you guys have the Kings, who are on a 4-game win streak, and they have beaten some of the top teams in the league. They've beaten the Celtics, the Clippers, New Orleans. Who else did they beat? Let's see. Oh, and the Nuggets. Okay, and so all those games that for the Kings, they were all about like 118, 116, 119, 113. So this is going to be a game that, one, they're trying to prove themselves not only against you guys but against the league. They moved back up into 9th position, and so I think this is one of those weird games for you guys. Like, I think there's a possibility y'all might lose.
Yeah, because we don't, for some odd reason, we just don't play well on the road. And then to throw into a West Coast game at that, I think that's going to be one of those games set up for disaster. And they might be looking ahead towards the rematch against Portland.
Right. Well, and then also the game is at 9:00, so it's the late game. Y'all aren't used to that, not in the East Coast.
Nah.
Well, Larry, go ahead and shout out what you do. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. So I run a YouTube channel, same name, Showtime Info. I cover the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of turmoil going on now with all these rumors back and forth. Getting into some Sixers work. Just trying to, continue to see what I can do as far as, podcasting and content creation.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you next week, Larry. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and segue into another Eastern team that's having a crazy good couple of games. It's the Charlotte Hornets. They're in number 7, and they made some major moves over the last week. We're going to go ahead and bring on Will. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So talk to me about your team. There has been some major talk about you guys over the last week. Must feel good, right?
Oh, it feels great. It's awesome. The buzz is happening in Buzz City. The buzz is positive.
Yeah, it is very positive. I'm going to go ahead and lead into LaMelo Ball because he had one of the biggest the biggest stat line for you guys. And that's he became the youngest player in the NBA history to record a triple-double in Friday's win over the Pelicans. Were you watching that game?
A little bit. It was against the Jazz, I thought.
Oh, I thought it was against the Pelicans.
I
Excuse
think it
me.
was against the Jazz.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I think it was against the Jazz, but other than that, no, it was impressive like crazy when you have to play against guys like Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, who are probably in the top 30 players in the NBA.
You know, I put Donovan Mitchell probably top 5 scorer, so that's definitely impressive.
I do too. It's impressive. That guy, that young, putting up a triple-double against a top 5 Western Conference team this year and have been really good as of late.
You know, Hayward seems to be meshing with you guys really well. He had in the game against Washington yesterday, he had 25 points, 3 assists, and 5 rebounds. But Rozier was your top scorer, and he had 26 points. Ball also had 19 points. So it seems like y'all are spreading the ball around well enough that everybody's getting a piece of it. Everybody's getting a decently high scoring game, and they're still able to win, which, don't get me wrong, y'all beat the Wizards. So it has its stipulations with it, but a win is a win. It definitely goes in the W column. What did you think about yesterday's game?
I thought it was great. Westbrook's averaging 20 something and something else, almost a triple-double.
Mm-hmm.
And we held them to 12. But I love the sharing of the ball. I love having 3 good scorers on the court. I love Devontae scoring. I love Terry scoring. I love Rozier scoring. I love Ball scoring. I love Hayward scoring.
For sure. Rozier is coming off an injury. What injury was that?
He actually is coming off a injury, but I don't remember exactly what it is, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. No problem.
But speaking of Hayward, he actually has improved a lot. I looked at his numbers from last year to this year. Last year, he averaged 23 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 1.2 steals per game. And then I'm sorry, that's this year. My bad. I read my notes wrong.
No problem. And that's great.
And then last year, he averaged 17.5 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.0 steals per game, which his points per game is up. His assists per game is up. His steals are up. The only thing that's down is rebounds, but you know what? I'll take 3 out of 4 stats any day of the week.
Right. And then you have 2 different guys that are putting up, let me look. You have 3 different guys that are putting up at least 7 boards a game at the moment. You have Zeller, Ball, and Monk, who put up 7 rebounds in the last game. So if your rebounds are down, or if one of those stat lines is down, it seems like you have teammates that are filling in those holes in your stat line. Hayward is definitely meshing really well with you guys. He's
meshing as well as I thought. Personally, I thought he was going to average maybe 15 at least. But you know what? It reminds me exactly of Utah Jazz Gordon Hayward when he was that young, hot, ready to shoot young buck in the NBA coming out of Butler.
And we love seeing that coming off that injury. I love seeing him being able to do better. What is your opinion on the All-Star weekend? Do you think y'all will have any All-Stars? And do you think there should be an All-Star?
If we do, I think Gordon Hayward could sneak in, but it's really tough because you got a lot of people in the East. For the front court, you got Giannis, you got Jimmy Butler, and others. But it's going to be hard. I would love to see him there, but I just feel like the front court for the East is just going to be so hard because you got Embiid, Giannis, Jimmy Butler, and a bunch of others, Chris Middleton. But personally, I agree with the other 2. I don't think there should be an All-Star game. I think that the grind of the season is long enough. Like LeBron said, it's been 70-something days since the NBA Finals. And like you pointed to, that bubble wore them out, and they deserve a break because these guys are going to be so tired. They're going to be sitting out games, and we'll be looking at the reports and be like, why are they sitting out? And it'll say load management.
Agreed. I think that they should definitely at least have a weekend off, and really be like a 7-day period where there's no games.
1 week at least.
Right. I could see a 2-week break, just because. But then you have the questions about, is everybody going to follow protocol, and are you going to be able to come back and continue the season on the same way it is? So I think like a week is probably good. Give their body some rest, and they should really be skipping out on All-Star Weekend.
They should. It's a risk. It's a huge risk.
Right. We look at the KD drama where he was allowed to play 19 minutes and then you pulled him. Well, honestly, what's the point in pulling him? At that point, you've already exposed every single person that's in the Coliseum. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers on what they should be doing as far as COVID protocol, but it seems like that was a huge blunder on their part.
Oh, huge blunder. You can't do that. Either someone misdiagnosed him, or something else happened and was like, oh, we'll throw him out there, see what happens.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, go ahead and shout out what you do, Will. Let everyone know how they can get a hold of you, and we'll see you next week, because I'm sure you guys are going to have a fabulous couple games.
I hope so. We actually are playing the Rockets right now, and LaMelo Ball has 18 points in the third quarter.
Oh, that's exciting.
Oh, it's great. I'm keeping track of it on my iPad. I may watch some of it. You guys can reach me on my Instagram. I post about Hornets games as recaps, not like stories, but on my page I take pictures, and my username is WVOGS. And if you guys don't mind, send me a message saying who you are before, and say,
right,
I found you on the NBA Carousel, and I would love to talk to any of you if you guys have any questions about the Hornets or anything NBA related, NFL related. Just let me know.
Awesome. We'll see you next week, Will. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and segue into one of the most busy reporters around. Absolutely the busiest reporter I know. He has been covering the Super Bowl all weekend. He covers the Orlando Magic, and he also covers the Tampa Bay Raptors at the moment. We're going to go ahead and welcome Alex Fleming to the show, guys.
How you doing, Megan?
Mr. Fleming, how are you?
I'm good. Oh, yeah, that's right. The store's closed, so I don't have to worry about COVID.
Oh, okay.
Bruh.
What a weekend for you, huh?
Oh, it was an excellent week. You know what? I'm a dummy, because if I was smart, I'd have stayed in Tampa Sunday for multiple reasons, but that's neither here nor there.
You didn't stay?
Well, okay, look, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl in the tent. That's not going to happen.
Right,
and number two, men aren't psychic. If we were, but I'll leave that at that.
Right. Okay. Well, talk to me about your Orlando Magic. You're kind of going through a stretch of tough times at the moment.
The Orlando crippled.
Indeed.
Markelle Fultz is injured. Let's see. Aaron Gordon went down with a leg injury, but he came back, and now he's not shooting properly. Still no Jonathan Isaac. Al-Farouq Aminu, when you coming back, bro? We need you. Mo Bamba's on a minutes restriction. We're not hitting the three deep. Vucevic doesn't have much help, and we've thrown a rookie in Cole Anthony into the fire. We are 9-15, and I think we're like 10th or 11th spot in the East. And, well, I mean, that doesn't mean much, because you could be 500 in the East and be like the 5th or 6th seed. So, I mean,
the 5th, yeah. I was looking at those stats on Saturday for my other show, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, let me plead the 6th, because I already drunk the 5th.
Right. Oh, hey.
Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. You should come on. Okay, so you guys, you face the Trailblazers next. What are your anticipations for that game?
Okay, if my memory serves me correct, last year when the Trailblazers were in the house and it was without Dollar Dame, they embarrassed us by a 32-point beatdown. CJ McCollum went off, and Melo, I believe, had like 25 points. It was ugly.
Well, you know what? Melo's kind of had a slow year. He did have a good game against Philly, but he's had somewhat of a slow year. And McCollum is injured at the moment, killing my fantasy team. I was in like 2nd. Now I'm like in 7th. with this
That's
injury.
what happened.
I don't want to let him go though because he's so good. He's such a good fantasy.
You can't let him go.
No, I'm not.
Basketball players are those type where you start to lose faith and you put them on the waiver wire, and then all of a sudden they come back and they start lighting it up.
Yeah, indeed. And McCollum is definitely known for lighting it up.
Oh, shameless plug. Go Bucks.
Oh man, congratulations on y'all's Super Bowl. That is huge.
I mean, I try to tell people, but what do I know?
You did tell people.
I can barely read or write, so you know what? I'm just gonna put it like this. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, I'm in Amarillo. I'm close to Lubbock, so it's like I wanted to root for Patrick Mahomes because of Texas Tech, even though I'm a UT fan. But he's regional. I wanted to root for him, but I just had this feeling Tom Brady had one more in him, and sure enough,
I'm pretty sure the defense gave Mahomes Raider rash.
Oh man, y'all's defense looked top notch last night. Like great game. Y'all massacred them.
Does this yellow shades look good with my hair?
Most definitely. It's got that glow.
Ooh, you got the glow.
You got the glow. Well, okay, after y'all play the Trailblazers, y'all have the Warriors on Thursday. And that should be a pretty interesting game. I think the Warriors are a better caliber team, but how tired is Steph going to be coming off of 57-point game type of performances?
Yeah, he only hit 11 threes, so you know what? He should be threed out when he comes. Is that game at home?
No, it is in Golden State. It's at the Oracle. Ugh. No fans, though. No fans.
All right, let me go
Okay,
because
Mr.
I don't have
Plum.
much to say good about the Orlando Magic. I just have to be optimistic and hope things look better.
Okay, well, go ahead and shout out at least a portion of what you do. Let everybody know where they can find you, and we will see you as soon as you're available.
I've been writing for the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucks. You can also find me every now and then on the NBA Carousel, crying my tears away for the Orlando Magic. I also covered the Toronto-Tampa Bay Raptors. Say it again. I might make an appearance, but that's hood talk, PG-13. Yeah. Sorry about that. Skullroot Sports, Skull King with Michael Skullroot and Scott Morganroth. Sports Arena tonight. We'll be talking some sugar honey iced tea about what we saw Sunday and how Eric and I were covering the Super Bowl and we weren't shocked at all. Oh, bro, Megan, did you see some of those beautiful pictures from the Topgolf charity event from Saturday?
I did.
All right. Well, they're telling me I need to go, so I gotta go.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you whenever. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move into our next segment. We're going to have the Milwaukee Bucks representative come on, Cool McCain. Oh, Jay Nelson, excuse me. We're going to do the Houston Rockets. We had a Texas matchup this weekend with Spurs versus Houston. Yes. San Antonio came out successful. Let me go ahead and say real quick, go Spurs, go Spurs, go. Tell me what happened.
I thought it was a great game, classic Texas shootout. Just like always. I mean, it's always reminiscent of the days back when it was Elijah Warren and David Robinson, and back when Houston was winning, and then it always just moved forward up until the 2000s when the Spurs had that run. And you ever notice that ever since then, that time period, no matter how good each team is doing, the other team is a thorn on the other side. It's like the Spurs are always a thorn on the Rocket side and vice versa. And
for sure.
I thought it was a pretty good game, pretty close game. John Wall and EG combined for 53 points on 56.3% shooting, which I thought was great. But DeMar DeRozan, like I told you, he's no longer DeFrozen. He's taking over that team.
Indeed. There have been a couple people that told me this season that they try to slide that in with the DeFrozen. And you know what I went ahead and did? I went ahead and bought me a DeMar shirt because DeMar has been giving it to y'all straight up. 30 points. Let's see, 8 boards, 7 assists. Like, he is killing you guys.
Yeah, he is. And we have to improve our defensive efficiency. I know for a long time they were saying Rockets can't play defense and whatnot. During the NBA era.
Well, Harden is gone. Is gone.
That was a big improvement. But at
y'all
the end
can
of the day,
move forward now.
At the end of the day, DeRozan is DeRozan. It's kind of like one of those things where you gotta contain him as much as possible. Just stop everybody else.
And that was also a problem. We had, you guys held us to everyone else was under 20 points. So, it was no like blow to y'all's defense because normally, Murray's going to be at about 20 points, 19 points. Murray only had 14 points. Or no, Murray had 11 points. Derek White had 14 points. I think they're sharing minutes now that Derek White is healthy. Keldon Johnson only had 10 points. He's known to get hot here and there. And Rudy Gay had 14 points. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was single digits. So your defense definitely was there, and it wasn't a blowout by any means. We only won by 5 points. Even though you guys are number 11, I feel like we're a very same caliber type of team. Like there's any moment you guys could be above us or below us. I think we're gelling together. We're starting to figure out how to work together as a team. And I think that's the same thing going on over in Houston right now.
Yes, it is. And it's just like I said on the on your sip off cast just on Saturday. That's just the nature of the Western Conference.
Right, yeah.
Like we could be 11th and y'all could be in, say, like 8th or 7th or 6th, and it could be literally 2 games that separate us. That's just
right.
How
the
conference is. I've said it for a while, for so many years. How many times have you seen the best team in the East to be the 4th or the 5th seed in the West?
Right, yeah, absolutely. There's, from 4th until 12th, it's always just something weird over in the West. And when LeBron was over in the East, I used to always use that line like, oh, well, he plays in the East though, and he came over here and could prove me wrong. But, I got to give credit where credit's due. He's still doing LeBron over here in the West. I was wrong, but the West is still way more competitive.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me your opinions on the All-Star weekend.
All-Star weekend, of course, nothing is the same. Do I think that they should have a game this year? Probably not. Until, as much as I would love to see a game, but I think that they should wait and see how this whole with the vaccine out and the restrictions and everything. Just go ahead and do it like the Pro Bowl in the NFL. Just vote the guys. Right. Maybe simulate it on like NBA 2K or something.
Right, and that would be cool. They did that. They did that the whole time that we were on quarantine and we didn't have any sports going on. Like they had, they had the 2K tournament and stuff. And there's no reason they couldn't do that for the All-Star game this year. And just go ahead and give the guys. Still mentally, they would still having to promote that event, but they wouldn't be there in person. They'd be giving their bodies a rest. They've only had, 2.5 months since the finals until starting day. And then they're playing 4 games a week. So everybody's exhausted. It's not just LeBron.
I think it would be a nice extended rest. And not only that, but I read an article where I don't know if directly Adam Silver's catching heat for it, but since this season has started, there had been an increase in like positive tests and everything. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the NFL had just ended their season and their positivity rate was way low. And they did
true. Very, very true. You guys are playing the Hornets right now. It's 82-74 with you guys down. There's 4 minutes left in the third. What needs to happen in order to beat the Hornets? And are y'all going to beat the Hornets?
I believe we can still beat the Hornets. We just have to lock LaMelo Ball down. When I checked right before I came on, he had 21. Vic is out there. He's got 12. House Jared had 11. We have no Wall or EG tonight, and we're still keeping it close with the Hornets. So that's a testament to the rest of the team. They say the deeper team wins. So right now we're keeping it close. If we can tighten up LaMelo for that last period and then just get hot for maybe 3 minutes, I think we can pull it off.
Well, and then after tonight's game, you guys turn around and y'all play the Pelicans, which the Pelicans, I think, are in 12th or 13th. They're not ranked very well. They're not winning games, but they're not losing games by a lot either. So I think that they're a dangerous team. You never know. Zion is playing incredibly well for the team to not be playing well. So something's just not meshing over there. I think you guys catch a W with that, but I think it's a pretty close game.
It might be a pretty close game, closer than people expected. The Pelicans seem to be one of those teams where you said they're 11th right now? 12th?
I think 12th, I think.
12? Yeah. A couple of possessions go their way. You're probably looking at a 7th seed.
Oh, no. Yeah, the Pelicans are 12th. And they're 10-12 right now. They're coming off of a 3-game win streak. So they're kind of hot right now. And being that New Orleans is not that far from Houston, it's kind of like a rivalry between you guys. Like a little, it's not as much as San Antonio and Houston, but it's a little mini rivalry right there.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. And tell me what you think needs to happen in order for you guys to break into the playoffs.
What needs to happen is just like I said, consistency. You got to beat the good teams and you got to beat the bad teams as well. I can see we'll probably, if we make the playoffs, and I mean we get on a hot streak, we should probably be like a 4th seed, which is very good compared to
ambitious
a team restarting. You see what I mean?
Right.
Because right now I got them at the last seed, but if we can strike hot and get number 4, that would be excellent. New coach, new system, new personnel,
right.
And get the 4th seed, that would be great. So that means like all they got to do is gel together. And next season, we might be a 3.
I think that you guys have a lot of potential, and as long as you can keep those 2 names that y'all pulled in the off season with Wall and Boogie, if you can keep them healthy, keep them under minute restriction, they're obviously happy to be there. And your best pickup in the off season was your coach, Silas. I think you guys have that potential, and I think you guys are kind of playing the way that I thought the Sixers were going to play. I thought the Sixers were going to need about a season to gel together and everything was going to go well. And so you guys have that potential to be that good. You're already at 500 right now. You're in a completely different system, a completely different lineup. It looks positive over there in Houston. And I mean, that's more than the Texans can say.
Exactly. Don't even bring. I'm mad at them right now. Don't even bring them up.
Okay. We're gonna let them go. Well, shout out where everybody can find you, Jay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. I am on Twitter at NellyNell13, NELLINEL1 Trey. I also am a journalism major, English minor at Abilene Christian University. I'm a senior. I'll be graduating in May, and I'll be moving back home to Houston to start my career. I've got a lot of projects going on. I'm an aspiring screenwriter. Me and the buddies got a podcast. Shout out to Marshall Hill, Craig Davis, my mother, Bessie Marie Nelson. Love you. Boy, trying to make you proud. You understand?
Thank you so much, Jay. We'll see you next week.
All
right, guys, we're going to go ahead and segue into the Trailblazers, who gave a very interesting game to the number 1 seed in the East. They had somebody come off the bench, somebody kind of famous. Who was that? Carmelo Anthony.
Yes, sir. Good old Melo. It was good seeing him play well in that game.
Absolutely. That brought a smile to my face to see him have, he was up in the 20-point range. I think he had 25 points. Now, he didn't have a whole lot of defense going on, but just nice to see him get hot with the ball. It's been a while.
Yeah, definitely. I think, he's like I say, he's been wildly inconsistent this year. And, Melo was a big part of the bubble run they made last year. And so him just being consistent, even if it's like 15 to 18 a game, is fine. And then, maybe definitely. Damian or CJ, whenever they're both healthy, one of the struggles, then maybe if he can give us a 20, 25-point game, which he can do, which he did against the 76ers, that's going to be big for us too. So definitely, if he could get more consistency going, because like you said, defensively, he's not going to give us a lot. But if he can get more like offense, that's his specialty, I think we'll be good and happy with the way Melo's playing.
Absolutely. Defense has never been his specialty whatsoever. It's not his forte. So he was always good at sinking the basket. Great to see him have a good performance against the number 1 seed. We want to see more of that. The next game, you guys played the Knicks. He cooled off. He didn't have a whole lot of points. But you had, let me see, y'all had Damian with 29 points, 9 assists, 4 boards. That's what he does. And then you had Trent Jr., who was your next highest scorer. And I actually went and picked him up on my fantasy team after that performance. Nice to see him step up over the last couple of games, because of that game with Melo, he had quite a few points as well, correct?
Yes, he did. I believe he had 21 that game.
Okay, yeah, right around the same. Solid performance.
Yeah, because we had to get some big performances since Damian was out that game. But, yeah, the next game, that's kind of the story of Portland so far this season, just like an inconsistent wave. Came off, against 76ers, play really good basketball, and then coming in against the Knicks and kind of laying an egg. And Damian came back for that game. It's something that, again, with all the injuries, maybe that's why But like I said, we can get more consistency from the other guys. I think Damian, during this time, he's pretty much knowing I have to kind of, get around 30 a game for us to be competitive.
Right.
Unless we get big performances like we did against the Sixers. So I think overall, if we can pretty much get everything, if we can get healthy, and then when it gets closer to the playoffs, I think Portland will be in good shape. It's just a matter of everybody getting on the same page and just getting consistent performances from, Melo and Gary and all of them, especially when CJ gets back. CJ's gonna be a big boost.
Man, I need him to come back. I need him to come back and save my fantasy team.
Oh yeah, because CJ was really playing like super good before he got hurt.
Right,
so
absolutely agree. And you guys are still holding on to the 7th seed in the 7th position right now, even with dealing with injuries, having to move your lineup around, even a few weird losses for you guys. But I'm not knocking the Knicks, and that loss you had to them guys, like they played pretty well. And they won the NBA week, in my opinion. They got Derrick Rose. So I've been said since the beginning of the season that the Knicks were a team to watch, and it's kind of nice to see that. So I'm not surprised to see you guys lose to them. I was surprised to see y'all lose to them by 11 points, but y'all are hella injured. So your next game is going to be tomorrow. You guys got to play the Orlando Magic. Completely winnable game for you guys.
Definitely. I mean,
he said definitely. Yeah, they're
it's one of those things where if even right now, I think if you're Portland, you're still good enough to win those games. You should win the games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Y'all
are injured. Y'all are injured, but they're crippled, like Alex.
Exactly. They're way worse than us. So
right,
if we can win a game if we can win the games like Orlando, we'll be good. I think Orlando's getting Al-Farouq Aminu back tomorrow as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's not much of an offensive guy, more of a defensive guy, but can hit the three. So
right.
I don't think it'll be that big of a difference, but I think we should be good to go as long as we play well. Damian plays well. Everybody does what they need to do. I think we'll be able to get out of that with a clean victory.
Well, tell me, what do you think about the All-Star weekend?
Well, I'm also one of the people who don't really think they should have it this year, just because when you made the decision before the season to not have it, I feel like at that moment you kind of have to stick to it because you designed the schedule to not have an All-Star week,
right?
Except just that 1 week break. And I feel like, especially with a condensed season, you got to let the players have time to rest their bodies and get ready to go for the second half of the year. So I think having the All-Star game is not a good idea. I mean, you heard LeBron come out and say, I'm not interested in playing. You may even, I think, may see players even say, I'm not playing the game. I legitimately think you may see people say that. So, if that happens, the NBA would obviously, that wouldn't be a good look if your top players are not going to play.
Right. Yeah,
so the NBA really has to be careful about it. I got to understand why they're doing it, the theme of it, etc. But at the same time, with everything going on, it's just like, I don't think this is a good time for that, especially since you told the players before the season we weren't having one to begin with.
I definitely agree with you. And I honestly haven't heard anybody say anything else. So I think that everyone's in consensus. They should have just sacrificed the All-Star weekend and we would have been fine with that. Let the players have a break. Go ahead and shout out what you have going on, Bryce, where everyone can find you, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Yeah. So like I've been saying, I'm supposed to get my podcast started. We have a name for the podcast. It's called The Sport Jam, not The Sports Jam, The Sport Jam. Should have a first episode later this week. And then also, if you want to follow me on social media on Twitter, you can follow me at Bricey_2K. So you can keep up with me. I talk about a lot of sports on there. So definitely follow me there. Keep up, talk to me, interact with people. So appreciate you having me on, Megan.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and segue into the worst team in the NBA. But you know what? They had a very interesting week. They had a very big trade of this season. They got rid of Derrick Rose. We're going to ask them what they gained in return and what they plan to do to improve their position and if they could possibly make the playoffs. Y'all welcome Dom to the show.
Yo.
Dom! Talk to me.
Well, I guess the Derrick Rose trade was better late than never.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super happy about the return, but I mean, if absolutely nothing else, I said before the trade deadline last year that Rose has to go. And I love Derrick Rose. Like,
Yeah, I know you like him. I know
that
you
game
do.
a couple when he was still Timberwolf and he hit 50 points and he
right,
cried.
yeah.
I had a tear in my eye as well. I'm glad we got something back because he's not part of the long-term plan. As far as Dennis Smith, I don't really know. It kind of makes me real iffy about our point guards now because obviously Dennis Smith is no Derrick Rose.
He's not, but I mean, he's had a pretty interesting season. It's definitely nothing to say that, oh, he's just the worst player or to get in return for that, because he's playing decent.
He's legit. And the thing is, he's young enough.
Right.
Like, I don't even necessarily, but I would assume he now becomes the presumptive starter. I mean, the only reason
and at that, it seems like you guys are sending a message that y'all are moving on with your younger players. Like, you're ready to develop the younger squad, move forward with that. You have one more to get out from underneath.
I was going to say, now
you have one more to get out from underneath.
For a 4-pack of toilet paper, I would be so happy.
That's horrible. Well, at least it was
3-pack, to be honest.
At least it wasn't the crumbs in the air for Andre Drummond,
Yeah, and now it seems like Cleveland's got her number.
True, but it seems like you guys have the Lakers number. I was
just about to say, isn't it crazy? We're the worst team in the league, and we already beat the Lakers once. Granted, no AD, and we took them to double overtime with a fully healthy roster.
Yeah, completely. And as LeBron left the court, he said, "I quit. I'm done." He's just exhausted. You guys didn't win the game, but I think it was somewhat of a moral victory. Like, you got
no such thing as moral victories.
Shut up. It was a bit of a moral.
I mean, honestly, though, I'd rather that we lose that game than win it. I would rather we lose every game
and get a good draft position.
Like, it's kind of sad because, like, I like this team and I like their energy. I don't really like their defensive effort, which is what makes me think. I mean, I've never heard anything about Coach Dwayne Casey preaching much about defense. I know when he coached the Raptors, they were not that good defensively. And honestly, I don't think he sees his way through this whole rebuild. Like,
probably not.
There's no point in firing him now.
Right. No.
But, like, will he be our coach in 2 or 3 years? I sincerely doubt it.
No. Now, I do expect to see him back next season because he still has, 2 years left on his contract. So I expect to see him back next season. I don't expect his contract to be renewed.
No, definitely.
Your guys are definitely moving forward. I like that flavor that you guys have. Y'all had a great draft. We talked about that before, that I really think that you guys, you didn't draft LaMelo Ball, and that's obviously who won the draft. But you guys had probably like a 3 performance as far as the draft. You guys actually drafted Saddiq Bey, and that's who I wanted for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, don't get me wrong. I was wrong. I love Devin Vassell, but Saddiq Bey has been playing pretty well for you guys as well.
See,
and especially for a rookie.
Saddiq Bey, I wanted Devin Vassell.
That's crazy. Well, I'm happy with our decision, but he looks good playing for you guys as well.
I like Saddiq Bey. So far, I think he's been our best draft pick. Hard to say about Killian Hayes. He looked real young, as he is, and shaky before he got hurt. I don't know how much longer he's out. I know they're not rushing him back, which is fine.
Right, yeah.
He can miss the whole rest of the season. I don't necessarily care. I just want to see him come back healthy.
Agreed. Grant was y'all's top scorer in the game against LA. He had 32 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. And then
I like that kid.
Grant
is the All-Star team, and I believe he belongs there.
I don't know about the All-Star team, but
maybe not a starter.
Not a starter. I'll give you that. He's playing really well. And then your next highest scorer was Jackson, who had 28 points. 3 assists and 8 boards. So he had a solid.
Jackson, I like a lot.
Yeah, same.
He seems to be. It's weird. Like, it's kind of similar to last year when we were really bad, and I couldn't figure out Coach Casey's rotations. Like, Christian Wood would play great one night, and then the next night, like, he'd barely play. But apparently that was an attitude thing.
Apparently, because he's doing really well in Houston.
But he's shining in Houston. That's the thing. Like, some players and some coaches don't mesh well, i.e. Allen Iverson with everyone other than Larry Brown.
Completely agree.
And it's if you don't trust your coach, you're probably not going to go out there and give 100% effort every game.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm pretty sure that Christian Wood knew that we weren't going to re-sign him, which is fine. I mean, I wouldn't mind having him on the team, especially if it meant, automatically, if we would have re-signed him, it's like, sweet, Blake's on his way out.
Right.
But I'm happy for Christian Wood. I'm glad they're doing well there. And especially now, like Houston maybe potentially has a bright future. It's great to see John Wall come back and be healthy.
Same.
Look like 80% of the John Wall of old.
Right. And Boogie too. Boogie too. You know, he's obviously not the same caliber that he was pre-Achilles injury. But, I mean, who comes back from the Achilles injury 100%? Kobe didn't come back 100%. It's just not going to happen. Nope. And you guys are playing the Nets next, which is tomorrow at 6 my time. So 7 your time, correct?
Yeah, we won't beat them.
Depends. Are they gonna have Kyrie and KD back? I don't think they have KD. Why was Kyrie out?
I don't know.
Would you know?
He nicked up. It might have just been rest.
All right. Okay. Well, I think it depends. If they are short those two guys, I don't think Harden puts up enough for y'all, honestly.
I am shocked how well that experiment is working so far. Like I haven't watched but maybe one Nets game. They tell me that James Harden is playing defense. I don't believe it.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
Like, oh, he's swiping with two hands now when a guy dribbles right by him.
Well, good luck on that game, and go ahead and shout out where everyone can find you besides Sports Gauntlet, which is our group that we mess around in together.
Oh, that was all my thunder right there.
Oh, all of it?
That was all of it.
You're not going to shout
X, however you spell the rest of it. CLUSIVE. Great
Sports
spelling,
group.
but not orally. And my Facebook page and Kier, obviously. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on, Dom. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Ma'am. Thank you. It's ma'am. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and segue into the number 2 team, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're having right now, Giannis is having possibly a MVP repeat type of season. Tell me what your opinions are.
Three-peat.
Excuse me. You're correct. You're very correct. Three-peat. Tell me what your anticipations are of your game that you have tomorrow against the Nuggets.
So the Nuggets is going to be a difficult game. I'm not going to lie. The Nuggets, I believe, are the 4th team in the West.
Yes.
But they've actually been trending up. Had a really good game with the Lakers last week. They kind of look like they've lost their thunder at the end of that game. And, their top guys just didn't give them a lot in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Right.
But it's a team to always be aware of. A lot of people sleep on the Nuggets. I advise against it. You know, you have Jamal Murray and the Joker. Those are 2 really good players. Then
right.
Who's
Gary
also
Harris, he's also in the MVP talk. So definitely a great MVP matchup in between the 2 of those. So you guys actually just come off a win. Y'all beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were kind of hot at the first part of the season. Seems like they cooled off some. Y'all beat them by a lot. Y'all beat them by 25 points.
Well, not to really brag, but we've actually been 4-0 since we last talked,
awesome.
including the wins over Portland and Indiana, as well as Cleveland twice. So, yeah, you know, just kind of Giannis has been playing well offensively.
Indeed.
Still need to work on, you know, expanding his range. But I see him at least making effort on that front. And I know they don't have as much practice time as they normally would. So he's not able to kind of maybe get in the gym and just put up, you know, a couple thousand shots a day like he normally would. But I feel like he's doing a lot. Drew Holiday's playing well as well.
Indeed.
Chris Middleton's always kind of, if you need him, he's there. Some games, not as much. But he's, you know, always available, it looks like. Bobby Portis is actually playing really well.
Interesting.
For them at the power forward position. Stats wise, you know, some good games, some not so well. But again, when you have guys that can come in that 2 or 3 games where maybe someone else is off and just be like that third guy, that helps out a lot. Rebounding, they are a very good defensive team. Lopez is always, you know, a really good player. So there's a lot of good pieces there that seem to work well together. And I only see them getting better because they're starting to integrate the new pieces in even more.
You guys were in the conversation for the D Rose trade. What do you think fell through? Because I think he would have been a really great fit with you guys, actually. Or do you think he would have been a good fit?
I honestly think he ended up in a better place for him.
I do too.
Definitely, he's a guy that would add more to the team. But we already have Augustine as the backup point guard, and he's a guy that I like a lot because he's perfect for that role. He's a guy that he's not looking to be a starter. He's looking to come in and run the offense on the second team. make shots when necessary, pass. He can mentor. Holiday doesn't need mentoring, obviously, but other young guys on the team, he can help mentor and kind of be a steadying force. You know, he spent time in Charlotte, spent time in Orlando, so he's a guy that's a veteran. So it's always good to have veterans, especially those point guard positions. And the backup roles are important on a team that has championship aspirations.
Do you have any opinions about the All-Star game?
So my opinion is a little different on the All-Star game. I don't think they should have said they weren't having it because realistically speaking, you know you were going to have something because you just need to. You just are going to. You do it every year. My thought is I think they should allow players to opt out. So you kind of, you elect everyone, decide who's going to play and who's not going to play. So if someone's not going to play, then you elevate someone else into the positions and let them play. And I think that would be a good way to kind of merge two things, the Rising Stars game and the All-Star game together and just put on one really nice game. So you got guys like LeBron, AD, Giannis, guys that, have a lot of wear and tear on. They've been playing a lot. Maybe they don't want to play. They're going to get voted in because they're fan favorites. But you can allow other guys to go and play in that game in their place, and then they still get their recognition as being an all-star. So I think that's something that they should do.
I really like that idea. I think that's something that they should move forward with. That's probably the best suggestion out of me asking that out of everybody, because I think we all feel like they need some rest. There's COVID concerns. What's going to happen if your best player contracts it while you're there? What happens to your squad then? But I really like that suggestion. I think that was really positive. Go ahead and shout out where everybody can find you, and good luck on your game today.
Yep. So you can find me on Twitter at Cool McCain, Instagram, Cool McCain. I keep it simple. Facebook as well, Cool McCain. And also on Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on playcallersportstalk.com. That's the site will take you straight to our YouTube page. We're live, we're interactive. We like to have fun.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCain. We'll see you next week.
No problem. Thanks.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move into a team that's had a couple of struggles, but they're still in the number 4 in the West. They have some of the top shooters in the league, and they're actually going to be playing the Cavaliers today. Y'all go ahead and welcome Jordan. He is the Phoenix rep.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Jordan. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Talk to me about your team. Let's talk about the loss to the Pelicans.
They couldn't stop Zion Williamson.
Agreed.
It was all him down low. It's just, I don't know where the big men were, and it seemed like anytime they would actually try to guard Zion, someone would cut into the low paint, and it was just easy buckets. Mm-hmm. They have struggled against big men this year, and I don't quite understand it.
I agree. I think that, but Zion is hard to stop, period. He's up on the closer side to 300. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to stop him. So I don't think beat yourself up about that. But I think what I saw a depletion of was y'all don't have any high scores. Like everybody was 19 points and under. So while you spread it around between 3 players in between 15 points to 19 points, I think you're missing that spark with Booker and CP3 when you're having 28-point games or 30 plus. That's what's missing at this moment. And so I think they held you guys to that. That was the bigger concern.
Well, it was also the second game back for Devin Booker off of his hamstring injury. So you have to wonder how much basketball shape he was actually in, because he did hit the game winner against Dallas on Monday. So it makes you wonder how much that actually took out of him.
Right. Well, and he had 38 minutes of play. So, he played a lot of minutes. You guys are playing the Cavs today, who have cooled off a little bit, but I still feel like they're dangerous. Sexton is very strong. What do you think?
I'm not worried about the Cavaliers, to be honest, because they are a good team, but then you have to realize the next game we play the Milwaukee Bucks, who has one of the bigger big men in the league. That's the game they should circle on, because if they end up losing this game, it's because they are looking too far ahead on the calendar, and you cannot do that.
Right. Agreed. During that loss against New Orleans, there was a picture that I saw, and CP3 had distanced himself from the team while he was sitting on the bench. Do you think that this was frustration? Do you think this was just he needed a little bit of space? Or do you think there's trouble in Phoenix?
I don't think there's trouble in Phoenix with Chris Paul.
Okay.
The problem is he was frustrated. No one could stop the Pelicans from the 3-point line as well as Zion Williamson. So when you get beat that bad, frustration is going to set in, especially on the defensive end. So the fact that they all played not their best basketball game, that hurt them.
I think that was just a rough game. But then you guys turned around and you beat Boston, who I think Boston is struggling. You beat them by 9 points. So that's a solid win. Boston is in number 4 in the East. This is somebody that, y'all are in the same position in different conferences. So, generally same caliber type of team, and y'all beat them by 9 points. So that's a positive turnaround. And then, like you said, you guys play Milwaukee what day?
I believe on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. Well, good luck with that. Do you have any opinions about the All-Star game?
I definitely have an opinion on the All-Star game. I agree with everybody. They shouldn't have it. You're talking about trying to play a game when there hasn't been really an off season. And, they started the season way too quickly. But what I think they should do, especially with COVID concerns, you're having everybody try to fly across the country. It just doesn't make sense. I understand that, these guys have incentives in their contracts. They can definitely put the rosters out there and say, hey, this is who made the All-Star team, just kind of like the NFL, but not have the game. Maybe even do a virtual game if you had to.
Right. I agree. I do think that Cool McCain had a good suggestion about, allowing players to opt out. I think that's a good idea. That allows people that, like, in the bubble, they were allowed to opt out. So some people just didn't come. And, this kind of gives them that option of those who do want to play in that game, they could show up.
They could. I mean, the NFL did the exact same thing for this season. They opted out of the season because of COVID concerns. So, yeah, I think that is a pretty good suggestion. But at the same time, you still have people flying around from the country
Very true. Well, go ahead and shout out what you do, where everyone can find you, and we'll see you back next week.
You can find me at Sports Scoop 1 on Twitter. I also have a sports blog that I write Monday through Friday, and it's sports-scoop.com.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move into the next team. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being on. We'll see you next week. We're going to bring on the Boston rep, who actually just played the Phoenix Suns. This is Jen. She represents Boston. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Megan. How are you tonight?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
You guys had a tough loss against the Celtics and a loss to the Kings. So I would say that you guys are missing Marcus Smart immensely.
Yeah, that would probably be a valid point.
Jason Tatum still is putting up, good points, but the supporting cast, like, there is some lacking coming off the bench, and even with the starters that are filling in at this moment. What do you think is missing?
Well, I think it also hurt that Daniel Thesis went out
the
other night too. And he's the only player that so far this season that had not been injured. So he went out against the Clippers. But so I think that's been it. I think what's hurting also is Kemba's still getting his knee back in shape.
Agreed.
From the stem cell. And when Kemba's back, because his flashes of brilliance are showing up.
Right.
But when they're more stoic and, more steadfast, not stoic, sorry, that'll really help, and that'll really get the naysayers away.
I'm a big Kemba fan personally. I think that I think he got a raw deal in Charlotte, but that
he did.
He really wants to be in Boston. I think he likes being there, and that's the main thing, is that you have your player that's happy and that he wants to be there. So
yes,
I think give him some time. They might want to put him on minute restriction, like last game he had 33 minutes. I think if they would bring his minutes back, obviously you're probably going to lose some games, but you're already injured. You might lose games anyway. So if you take his minute restriction and put it at like 25 to 22, I think you preserve his health and, possibly have a better playoff run.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And I think they need to do that with a couple of players. I know a couple of them have been playing smaller amounts, and they think they tried to push Kemba a little too much.
Agreed.
But I think he was doing a good job on against the Clippers, and I think that's why they really pushed his time up against the Suns, and I think that'll bite. But I think that there's a couple of other players that they really need to come back. They need Brown to come back in because he got injured last week. Brown and Tatum together, I mean, they were on fire, man. Tristan has to step up his game because he's good. Tristan's doing a good job, but Tristan's capable of more.
Absolutely.
And
he had 12 rebounds in the game against the Suns, but he only had 6 points. He's got to pull up more and put something in the buckets. Like, he is rebounding, he is doing well. It's not like he's just really I wouldn't call it choking, but he's not doing well with the points.
Right. Like, he's doing better defensively than he is offensively,
right,
which is fine. But come on, you're Tristan Thompson,
Agreed.
Get it together. And don't blame it on Chloe.
Funny. Well, his numbers kind of remind me of Draymond Green. And I mean, those of you that are on my page, y'all know I kind of give Draymond Green a hard time. So
I hate him.
Yeah, it's his personality. At least Tristan's personality isn't like that. So
exactly.
I hope he steps it up. And one last kind of random off the wall question. So how long is Tatum's contract with the Boston?
Ooh. I was just reading something about that. Hold on, let me check my notes real quick.
And my concern is, like, does Jason Tatum stay with you guys if they still perform like 4th seed, if they don't have a deep playoff run, if they don't make it to the East Finals, does Tatum stay? But it obviously depends how long his contract is.
I don't know. I think it depends on everything else. Like, honestly, with what's going on, I think the Celtics have what it can take, what it can happen. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes. I'm just going to Google it now.
No problem. You think that they have what it takes to keep him around?
I think they have the star power. I think they're missing something. I mean, let's face facts. You have Brown, you have Tatum, you have Walker, you have Tristan Thompson. You have. Why aren't you doing better? What's that missing link? Do we need to go out and do some more volunteer efforts in Boston? Do we need to get Cam to come over there and show you where to go to the Boys and Girls Club?
Indeed.
I mean, what's up? Do we need Belichick to come in there and just give you the stoicy look?
That's hilarious. They should do that. They should bring Bill Belichick in and just have him stare at them.
Exactly. Like, you can do this. What are you talking about?
That's hilarious.
I mean, do we need to get Donnie Wahlberg in there to yell at him?
Well, seriously. And that would be nice too.
I know he recently signed a 5-year contract. On November 22nd, he signed a 5-year contract. 5-year, $195 million extension with the Celtics.
So basically,
he's
a max contract. Yeah, he's there. Okay. Well, I was just, I hadn't caught that in free agency or the extensions. Like, I didn't catch his contract. So I was just wondering, like, how long was he signed there? Seems like he's there for the long haul. Hopefully you guys pick it up. And you guys play the Jazz tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Correct.
Tough game. Really, really tough game.
But they can do it.
Yeah, they're not unbeatable. The Jazz are not a defensive team. So if you guys come in there and play at a speed that they're going to have a really tough time keeping up with, and then your shooting is going to have to be top notch, I think it could be winnable for you guys.
Yeah, I do too. It'll be a fun game to watch anyway, hopefully.
Right. Do you have any opinions about the All-Star weekend?
I'm actually cool with them not having an All-Star weekend. Let the guys have the weekend off. I liked what I think Bryce said, and I'm sorry if I'm quoting the wrong person, but what Bryce said about being able to opt out. Was that Bryce?
No, it's Cole
McCain. I'm sorry, Cole. I'm sorry, Cole.
It's no problem.
I thought that was a great idea because we're allowing everybody to do it elsewhere. And honestly, like, who knows if we're even going to have the Olympics this year.
Right.
So,
Well, Jen, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. And we will most definitely see you back next week because I have a feeling Boston is going to win this game against the Jazz.
I do too. And hopefully we'll move into second place in the East. You can find me at Unlimited Sports on Facebook. You can also find me on my own page, Jennifer Matthews Lewis, or you can find me on Twitter at Jenna Cheryl or Reddit at Jenna Cheryl _ML.
Thank you so much for being on, Jen. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Right. Have a great night. Bye, Megan.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this evening. We have a ton of games to watch. Right now, the Spurs are losing to the Warriors 40-31. The Mavericks are up on the Timberwolves. The Raptors are losing to the Grizzlies. There's several games to watch. So we're going to call it a wrap for tonight. Good night. Thank you so much for watching the NBA Carousel.